Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. Guess what? I have the all-new 2024 Lexus GX 550 and I'm going to compare it against the one that I own, which is 2023 Lexus GX 460. As you guys know, beautiful V8 engine, all-new 3.4 liter turbocharged V6 engine. Those are some of the differences, but also there are many other differences between the two. Right off the bat, what I want to do is do a quality check and show you whether or not this is better or the old one is better. Let's go. Welcome back. So the first thing I'm going to do is do a quality check for the manufacturing between these two. They're both built in the same plant, Tahara plant in Japan, perhaps the best plant in the world. Of course, the production has finished for the GX for 2023 version, and they've switched over to 2024. So the quality should be similar, but as you know, when you move on to a brand new model, sometimes the quality changes a little bit. So let's do a quick check on this proven 2023 Lexus GX 460. And the gap is only 2.9 millimeters. As you know, I've measured this many times. It's just fantastic. 3 millimeter there, 3.1 millimeter here, and 3 millimeter here. Almost perfect alignment. Everything looks absolutely perfect. It's exactly the same measurement on the other side when I did the measurement earlier. Let's check against the GX 550, still built in Tahara plant. Now, interesting enough, the design has changed and the hood actually goes over the front fender, so it's a bit tricky to measure the gap because this one kind of goes over it, but regardless, it is a little bit wider at 3.9 millimeter here, but right here, which you could measure also, is 3 millimeters. So it's actually same as the GX 460. Over here, 3.1 millimeter and 3.0 millimeters. So actually more or less the same, bit narrower here compared to GX 460. A bit wider here, but the panel fit, panel alignment, all looks perfect. It looks almost identical in terms of manufacturing quality for exterior panels. Now let's do a quick check on the paint job and the paint thickness. All right, so I'm going to measure the paint thickness on the GX 460 first, and let's see how it is. This is the pearl white color, 140 microns. Let's do a front fender. 142. Let's do one more here on the door. 134. I can almost tell you this is going to be thicker because this particular white metallic paint has extra layer of metallic, so it should be thicker than this incognito color in the GX 550. And sure enough, it's 114 microns, 125 microns, and one more here, 118. So definitely thicker on that one, but that's because that's the kind of tri-coat pearl metallic paint, and so there should be one more layer of paint compared to this one. So unfortunately, I don't have the exact same paint to compare side by side, but right now the paint is a little bit thicker on the 23 versus 24. But in terms of paint quality, you know, it's really hard to say if one is better than the other because this is top-notch paint. The reflection, the metallic, the clear coat, all looks about the same. Again, because it's a two different color, it's a bit hard to compare in terms of being an apple to apple comparison. But obviously, being Tahara built, I wouldn't have expected the paint or the quality control to be worse on the 24 than 23. I would say the only thing I would mention is that some of the plastic trims a little bit flimsy on the new model, like here. Some of these window slash door trims a little bit loose, which is not the case here. This is nice and tight. They might have changed the design here to make it more flexible and easier to manufacture, but it doesn't look too good when it's loose. And the peeler here I have matte. This is glossy black. Otherwise, all the plastic trims and the accessories and components look about the same quality. This one has much more of a fancier design compared to GX. But other than that, the manufacturing quality for all intents and purposes are about the same between 23 and 24. Now you already know that the biggest difference between 23 and 24 is the powertrain, which is going from a V8 engine to V6. This is the beautiful 4.6 liter V8 engine, proven, beautiful, smooth, refined. Maybe it's a bit of a gas guzzler, but absolutely amazing engine to work with and to drive with, versus the new generation engine, which is a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 engine. The same engine that's used in many different Toyota Lexus models, including the one that's in Lexus LX 600, which is a flagship, but also it's the same engine that's in Tundra, which has been recalled. As you guys know, they're replacing more than 100,000 units of that engine due to some machine debris inside the engine. The new 2024 GX hasn't been recalled, so I'm going to assume that this is clear and that this engine is not having the same problem as the LX600 and Tundra. But of course, we don't know that yet. At some point, a little bit down the road, this engine could be included in a new recall, and maybe they have to replace this engine as well. No such issues with the V8 engine. Beautiful, proven, and it has been the most reliable powertrain. So that will be the biggest difference, and something to keep an eye on between this and that. It's not just the difference in feel between V8 and V6, but the whole technology has changed. This is not a hybrid though, so it's not a very complicated engine from that perspective. But of course, most of us love the feel of a naturally aspirated V8 engine. Having said that, the power and torque delivery are much better in the new 3.4 liter twin turbo V6. The power is up, the torque is up, and they happen at much lower RPM. Whereas on a naturally aspirated V8, you gotta step on the gas a little bit more, and then the power kind of builds up. But that build up over the power is just an amazing experience. And I'm not sure if I can ever convince myself to sell the V8 and buy the V6, but that's something for me to think about down the road. Also keep in mind that this is 6-speed automatic transmission versus 10 speed. So as you shift the gears, you notice much more of a smoother transition, just because there's a lot more gears on this one, and the shifting is better than the V8 powered 2023 GX. So those are some of the differences in some powertrain. The all-wheel drive system is similar, but this one has locking center and rear differential, and you also get an electronic KDSS, and that one's available on the GX550 Overtrail. On this one, it's more of a normal KDSS based on the hydraulic system, so it's quite a different package between these two. But now let's take a look at the inside and point out the differences. So now I am inside the 2024 GX, and this is where the biggest difference as well in terms of interior packaging. All new interior, all new seating system, all new packaging, beautiful 14-inch display versus much smaller display on my 2023 GX. Digital cluster here, no digital cluster on my older GX. But to be honest, in terms of usability, I don't mind having manual system, because here I've lost all the buttons for HVAC system. I do have a temperature control here, but everything else is off the infotainment system, because I have to actually click here like this to operate, and I still prefer real buttons. But the bigger screen and much better rear view camera, for example, is a huge improvement over the 2023. And just generally speaking, even though it doesn't look more luxurious, the layout is better. It's much more square looking design to make it easier to go through off-roading courses, and all the packaging is better. Wireless phone charger, and obviously wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which we don't have in the 23 version. All updated technology, all updated safety features. So you can't compare the two in terms of technology and features. The 24 is way better than 23. But on the other hand, the 2023 GX had the old system of a hydraulic power steering, which is heavy but really good steering feel, lots of road feedback, versus the 2024, which has moved to the more modern electric power steering, or EPS. So it is lighter and maybe doesn't have as much of a feedback from a road, but the steering is more accurate and sportier. I can actually twist left and right along kind of curvy roads, and it handles well, it corners well, almost too sporty by luxury car standard. Also partly because this one has a 22-inch wheels and tires, low profile tires, so actually they really handle well. And that's the most noticeable difference between 24 and 23, because 23 GX might have the beautiful V8 engine, but it's clunky around the corners, it's very tall and almost tipsy in terms of feel. It's not as stable and it's not as flat around the corners. So definitely, if you want to feel more engaging, if you like a sportier SUV, the 24 GX is better than 23. But if you like the old-fashioned feel of a heavier steering, hydraulic power steering, and you want that kind of almost like a tank feel, then 23 GX is better. Okay, so now I'm back in the 2023 GX, which is the car that we own. As I mentioned, smaller infotainment system. It is touch panel, but no wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. I don't get digital instrumentation, just in the middle section here. So very limited. But you know what, to be honest, I like this kind of traditional design with all the buttons and all the switches in proper place, which is probably closer to what I have in the 2024 Land Cruiser, which I just purchased recently. That one has all the buttons and switches as well, so I definitely prefer that over the 2024 GX design, which is just a minimum amount of switches and everything else is built into the infotainment system. Otherwise, this one has a traditional look with a beautiful wood grain and also semi-gloss gray plastic over here. And it's actually a very usable, very comfortable environment. No one complains about this GX because it's kind of soft, very, very smooth and cushy over many different kind of road conditions, versus the new Lexus GX, which is sportier, handles better, but it's also bumpy over many different kind of surfaces, not only because it has 22-inch wheels and tires, but also because suspension is just designed and calibrated to provide a sportier feel, which is sort of the new generation of design for Toyota and Lexus. Otherwise, something to take a note of is that we don't have something like a massage chair, which I do have on a 24. And generally speaking, it's beautiful, but it looks a little bit outdated. The 24 GX is also beautiful, and it has a very much of a modern feel to it, but looks less conservative and less traditional than 23. So I'm kind of curious which one you guys like in terms of design, even though this one has less tech features than the 2024. So I'm back in 2024 Lexus GX, and the final important point I want to talk about is the size of the two vehicles. The all-new 2024 GX is quite a bit bigger than the 2023. In fact, this GX is almost the same size as a flagship LX because they're based on the same TNGA-F platform, and the length, the width, the height are about the same, just within inches of each other, compared to 2023 GX, which was called the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado. Yes, we're outside North America, and it's always being a smaller version of the bigger Land Cruiser model. So the dimensions are different, which means I get more space inside, front, rear, and even the third row of seats quite a bit bigger. The third row on the 23 GX is kind of useless. It's very cramped. It was never designed to be a proper 3-row, whereas on the 24 GX, it is more of a proper 3-row seat with lots of space for legroom and headroom and shoulder room, and it's quite comfortable. So if you want roominess and practicality, certainly the new GX is better than the old one. But as a final point, keep in mind that the price have gone up substantially, upwards of several $1,000s to maybe even $10K difference between 23 and 24. And even though you get more features and more tech items compared to 23, it is a big jump, and that's something to keep in mind if you're going from 23 or earlier GX to 24 GX. The new generation version has a higher price tag. Now keep in mind that at least in 2024 GX, you can also choose the over trail version, which is like a Lexus version of the Land Cruiser with all the off-road packages, including locking center differential and rear differentials, full suite of off-road capabilities, and 18-inch off-road tires and wheel package as well. That one is my favorite, and something that we didn't have in the Lexus GX 460. We never had a true off-road version of that particular generation. So that's a welcome change, even though you might pay more. I think if it's an over trail, it's kind of worth it, because if you have to do overlanding equipment and gears on a 23 Lexus GX 460, it's going to cost you quite a bit of money. So I hope this was helpful. Obviously, there's a lot more differences than what I showed you right now. This is a quick recap on 23 versus 24. I'm kind of curious as to which one you like better. I have to admit, I always love the 2023 GX 460, love the V8 engine, love the solid tank feel, but the 24 is more fun to drive, more engaging, and sportier overall with much better technology, roomier, and also just bigger. So if I have to choose right now, I might actually pick the 24 versus 23, because you get more of everything. Even though I said many times before that I will never sell my 23 GX because of V8, this one has almost convinced me to change my mind, and I'll wait and see if I'm going to sell my 23 to buy the 24 or keep the 23. I think for now I'm going to wait to make sure that there's no recalls on this engine, and if there's no recall and it's safe to do so, I may upgrade the GX 460 to GX 550 with an overtrail package. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you can give me a thumbs up, that'll be great. And if you haven't done so yet, would you kindly subscribe as well. Until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.